Good afternoon, this is Rich Nelson with Allendale, doing the wrap-up comments here for Thursday, February 28th of 2013. Action day certainly was higher across the grain complex, corn up 9, soybeans up 12, and wheat trading up 2 cents here. Starting out this morning, we did get in weekly export sales, and certainly for corn, really can't say they were astounding or great. For old crop, we sold 303,000 tons of corn here. That's old crop sales, not new crop, last week. And actually, that's not a great number, but in the past few weeks, we sold anywhere from 13,000 tons up to 393. So it was in the higher end of the range, but certainly not an astounding number here. We did see support, though, as one of the secondary exchanges out of Argentina did confirm some talk of lower corn production here. So now we've got the Rosario Grains Exchange at 25.5 million tons, and today we heard the Buenos Aires Grains Exchange say 25 million tons. Both these numbers are clearly below USDA's latest report, which is 27 million tons of corn production for Argentina. Over on soybeans, we of course saw them lead the way as far as higher trade today. We did see some very good weekly export sales, 689,000 tons of old crop sales made last week. Certainly a good number when you can look at the previous 2 weeks, which were actually net declines, net cancellations here. So that was a good rebound. And also keep in mind, export sales should be falling hard at this time of year. The 5-year average sale for this particular week is only 476,000 tons. Also good news, overnight China went ahead and bought 123,000 tons of new crop U.S. soybeans. So at this point, China is still favoring the U.S. and still giving us a few extra orders in anticipation of further problems with Brazil. As far as some other news, we've got to point out Buenos Aires Grains Exchange also gave us some pretty good some pretty bullish soybean production numbers here, 48.5 million tons. This confirms a previous number from the Rosario Grain Exchange of 48 million tons. Both these numbers are quite a bit under USDA's latest estimate of 53. So certainly we are going to see some reductions in terms of soybean production numbers here. Wheat news is actually kind of quiet on the wheat side. There is some interest as far as India selling some more wheat, and those are the smaller issues. But for the most part, wheat was more of a follower of corn and soybeans here today. Of other news, I got to point out as far as the economic side, news is actually a little disappointing here this morning. GDP was revised for the fourth quarter. The previous number was minus 0.1% growth. That was revised a little higher to a 0.1% growth. So this is certainly some issues which were a little disappointing because the trade was actually expecting a new number showing a 0.5% increase for the fourth quarter. Keep in mind, U.S. dollar did gain 38 points here today. This is actually a new high for the year on the U.S. dollar. And keep in mind, as far as U.S. dollar, typically higher prices on the dollar, higher values, mean lower commodity prices. And that's actually happening as far as many other commodities. For instance, crude, today's low, is actually very near this year's low. So a higher U.S. dollar should exert a bearish influence on grains. So perhaps that held us back a little bit today as far as the gains on grains. Keep in mind, today is still in the process of this 24th annual acreage survey that we do. This will go until next Friday. We certainly encourage all producers to help us out by giving us a call or checking out our website. Very simple process, and for your participation, we certainly will give these numbers to you guys with the full report here once we finish crunching the numbers here. Over on livestock, action kind of quiet here today. April cattle contract up around 12 cents. Keep in mind, this trade has some problems as far as cash cattle pricing right now. February futures 127.50. That implies cash cattle at the end of this month should be 126. When you consider last week's actual cash trade was 123, there's around a $3 disparity. So futures are saying 126 should be this month's final pricing. With that in mind, looks like the feedlots will be holding out, will be bargaining hard this week, and probably see the bulk of trade won't happen until tomorrow or tomorrow afternoon likely. But certainly the trade is saying higher cash cattle will happen. On the hog side, up 30 cents as far as the April contract today. Kind of quiet news. We are seeing some stability begin to show on the cash hog side, but keep in mind there's actually quite a buildup in market-ready numbers due to the past 2 weeks of storms. those numbers do have to find a home. Therefore, we're still suggesting this is, in general, a pressured market for the next week and a half or so. So as far as action day, higher on grains and a little mixed action as far as livestock today. But certainly we are seeing a nice little rebound in grains may happen or may continue higher into tomorrow for a nice little wrap up to this week here. This is Rich Nelson with Allendale, helping out midday comments.